bookish beings, it's Jessica. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I am a bookish Filipina now living in Paris who wants to get serious in my love for books. So, voila. So today I am taking you in what my typical Saturday is like living here in Paris. And normally Saturday is my errands day, but today is a special Saturday because it is the day that I finally finish The Swan by Marcel Proust. I am so excited. Today is the day. There is no other day because I only have around 40-ish pages to go. So we are going to first go to the groceries and then have a quick lunch and then go to a cafe to finish this book, a momentous achievement for me for the year because it has been such a journey reading this book. If you have ever read The Swan, please let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts about it are. All right, let's get going. So I have now arrived in front of Château de Vincennes, which is the fortress, the chateau here in Vincennes, one of my favorite neighborhoods in Paris. We are not going inside the chateau, although I've been here before and it was amazing. But today is not a chateau day. Today we are going to the neighborhood around Vincennes, a little walk around this little city, little village that is so adorable. Anyway, you'll see, I'll show you around, and I am so happy that it is a sunny winter day. So yeah, let's go. See, one of the reasons why I love Vincennes is because it is just so quaint. It is not a part of the Paris area anymore because it has a different postal code which starts with 9. All of the arrondissement inside Paris, I hope that's a bird, starts with 7, but it is still very close to the city in that it is reachable by line 1, and line 1 is such a great metro because it's not so crowded unlike my metro line now. So I really love this neighborhood. It's also just so quiet and I think really a great place to just live, and it's a living space. That's what it is. Whoa, I don't know why this is in a bubble, but it is fascinating. And oh my gosh, they still have the patinoire. They still have the skating rink over there. Look at this. It's like a little cleaner Paris. This is the Notre Dame of Vincennes. I thought it was a government building because of the structure, but then I remember the Madeleine, which also has these Greek columns. Okay, I've never been here, so let's go inside. Started this little, usually we take this little bookshop. It's so cool. You have to enter like a little pathway, and then there's also like a shoe shop. There's the little pathway that I was talking about. So, just a little recap. The Swan Way is the first book in the 7-volume chef d'oeuvre or masterpiece called À la recherche du temps perdu, or In Search of Lost Time, of the French author Marcel Proust. The first book really lays the foundation for the entire series. It explores memory, love, and imagination, and how this shapes the inner life of a person. So I am finally able to sit down, and I am right beside the heater of this restaurant, which is amazing because I was really freezing outside, and I am in the middle of finishing this one way, and oh my god, I just found out that Odette is Madame Swann. I mean, I'm not so surprised, but at the same time, in the first parts of the book, well, on the most parts of the book, Madame Swann is simply Madame Swann. She is not named at all. So finally, when they said that Odette is Madame Swann, I could not help but squeal silently in this restaurant slash cafe. I'm really thankful that I'm beside the heater. I have finally finished this one way by Marcel Proust, and I have so many thoughts that I cannot articulate at the moment. In contrast to this one articulating thoughts, I think I need to reflect on it, and then we can discuss. I'm just okay. Let me reflect, and then I will get back to you. Oh my gosh, that's so romantic. I love it. I am finally in my very warm apartment now. Thank goodness. I am really feeling my age, I guess, because I feel like my knees are hurting now that I'm in a warmer place and I'm trying to sit and I feel my knees. Anyway, I digress. So I have reflected a bit on my way home, and I want to do this review in 3 parts. The first part that I want to talk about is the writing, second the characters, and third the plot. So the writing of this book is an absolute delight to read. Of course, I read the translated version. Reading the French version, the original version, would be the dream when I am very, very fluent in French. But this one, in terms of readability, is good, and I'm saying that as a normie, non-academic person who was able to digest Proust's work. And also given that this was my first Proust. It wasn't, of course, there are some portions which are quite hard to understand that I had to reread some parts, but nonetheless, it was less difficult than I thought that it was before going into the book. Just so you know, this translation is the latest translation worked on by Brian Nelson and Adam Watt. And I was thinking that I would go for the latest translation for the first book because it would be the easiest introduction to Proust. Well, because it is the latest translation. I just thought that it would be the easiest path, and for me, it worked out. There are 6 other translations of the book, and before I bought this first volume of the 7 volume, if I'm not mistaken, series, I did consider going for Moncrief. Moncrief. I will put the spelling here. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. Moncrief's translation, which is one of the most popular translator of Proust's works. But I kind of felt daunted taking up Moncrief's translation because I saw some reviews saying it's too antiquated and too poetic. So I felt like going into Proust with Moncrief would be like going into the farthest end of the pool and just jumping without knowing how to swim, which, I guess how it works when you learn how to swim. But anyway, this worked out for me, so yay. Now I feel like I am more ready for the second book, which means for me that I maybe am willing to pick up Moncrief's translation for the second book, but I've also read that Lydia Davis's work is also fantastic because her work is the closest to Proust's words. Let me know what you I cannot speak at all. Let me know what you think down below, which translator you prefer for Proust, and yeah, which is the better translator for you, because I am very interested, because I don't know yet really which translated work of his I am going to get. So let's get into the characters. I want to discuss 4 of them: the narrator, Swann, Odette, and my favorite character. So first up is the narrator, who is Marcel. He is such a mama's boy. I mean, we see in Cambrai, where we were at the first part of the book. So aside from, reminiscing his childhood home in Cambrai, the beauty of the surroundings, etc., there was some 15-20 pages of him just talking about wanting to get a good night's kiss from his maman, or his mom. Maman is mom in French. And he was just dissecting what he feels about not being able to kiss his maman, why this is so important to him, what's gonna happen if he doesn't get this good night's kiss, and the lengths that he is willing to go just to get this good night's kiss. And of course, we see how it all unravels and how he was able to ultimately get a good night's kiss from his maman. I mean, when I was reading this, I could not believe that I was reading about a little boy who just really wants to get a good night's kiss from his maman. But I think that's also where the brilliance of Proust lies, that he is able to very eloquently articulate and, as I've said, dissect feelings, situations. It's amazing. And then the second part of the book is actually all about Swann. The character only appears back on the last part of the book, on the third part of the book, which is place names. So in the second part of the book, our 2 main characters are Swann and Odette de Crécy. So Charles Swann is this enigmatic man in Cambrai. And in the first part of the book, we don't really see a lot of his inside life. We only see part of his life in the eyes of the narrator. So because they don't really interact in the first part of the book, it was sort of given to us in the first part of the book that this man is popular, but we don't know anything about him. But we know that he is a very influential man in Paris. And true to that, in the second part of the book, we do see Swann being actualized. So we see his inner life. And despite all this popularity, despite this influence, despite him being in the upper echelon of society, he falls madly, deeply in love with a kept woman, Odette de Crécy. Now, it wasn't explicitly stated, at least not how I read it, that Odette is a kept woman. Being it was being implied, but it was not directly said at first. So we just know that Odette is a big part of the Verdurin group, which Swann at first tried to be in because he wanted to really downplay his popularity, his influence. And so he wanted to be in some sort of superficial group where he can say witty things, but not things that he wants to really think over deeply. So going back to Odette and Swann, Swann tells us that Odette is not even that pretty. She is not even that attractive. She is not his type. She's not even that smart or witty. She doesn't even have good taste. But despite it all, we see Swann spiraled to get Odette, to have Odette to himself. And that was partly because Odette was able to make him jealous. She was able to manipulate him in a way that he would become obsessed with her. And she really was good at it. I mean, there was the last part of the second part of the book, I was just so infuriated with both Odette and Swann. With Odette, because of the way that she uses Swann, and not even implicitly, but so explicitly that Swann's friends, his other friends, would say that she doesn't love you or she doesn't care about you, but Swann doesn't care as long as he's the one who possesses Odette. I was mad at Swann because he couldn't see it. He just, he doesn't care. He did not care because, again, all he wanted was Odette, or at least the idea of Odette. And the second part of the book really deeply explores the idea between wanting something and thinking that you want something. And that was also one of my favorite parts of the book. And now, going into my favorite character, which is only a minor character, and I suppose she became dear to me because she reminded me of the kind woman who helped take care of my grandma, and that was Françoise. My favorite character, not the woman who helped take care of my grandma. Anyway, so Françoise is the servant of Marcel's family in Cambrai, and I just love the dynamic between her and the aunt in Cambrai. They were like dogs and cats who, would have cold fights and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they really care for each other. And when the aunt got so sick, Francoise would not leave her mistress's side. She needed to be the one to take care of her. And that part of the book kind of made me cry and sentimental. And we don't really see Francoise after that. We only see her parts in the third installment of the first in the third chapter of the first book. But nonetheless, every time she appears, I am just very entertained. So yeah. So now let's get into the plot of the book. And because this is not a literary paper, nor am I being graded, hopefully, I am going to go with a more controversial answer. I don't even know if this is controversial. Maybe it's quite common. You let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, since you are asking me what the plot of the book is all about, I would have to tell you that there is no straightforward answer, at least to me. as a normal reader with no literature background, I mean, with no literature major, did not study literature whatsoever. I just love books. To me, as a layman reader, the plot of the book really depends on the reading experience of any reader. And I think it's also affected by which time of your life you read the book, which really just adds to the depth, the brilliance, the beauty of Proust's work. So for me, I saw the plot unfolding in three ways with different parts of the book. So in Combray, which is the first part of the book, we were in the childhood experience of the narrator, and we are exploring how the memory works, how it is triggered by different sensations, by everyday moments, and how imagination distorts reality, which we saw in the goodnight kiss portion of the story. And then in Swan Way, which is the second part of the book, beneath the love story and the love complications, we actually see the same thing happening with Swan, that it was his imagination taking over. It was his imagination making him fall deeply in love with Odette. We were seeing that the more Odette was away, the more Odette was detached from him, the stronger his attachment got, because in between those gaps, it was his imagination telling him what was happening, what was likely happening. It was his imagination protecting him from his vulnerability. So we see how his imagination drove him to that madness for Odette. And we also saw how the power of desire can distort reality. No one can dissuade Swan from being with Odette, no matter the clues, no matter the evidences against Odette, because all he wanted to see was the light in which he wanted her to see. And we know this for those of us who have been crazy in love, foolishly in love before, that when we want to see someone the way we want to see someone, then we don't see them any other way, because that's what our mind wants us to see. And then in the third part of the book, which is place names, it's now all about longing. So it's imagination being transformed into longing. We saw the narrator longing for the places that he could not visit because of his health. We saw his longing for his childhood. We saw his longing for Combray and the glories of the past. So just to conclude today's video about this amazing, daunting, now less daunting, but amazing book, I just want to read to you one of my most favorite passages in this book. Let me see. Oops. Okay. It goes, "The places we've known don't belong only to the world of space in which we situate them for our own convenience. They were only ever a thin slice among contiguous impressions that formed our life at the time. The memory of a particular image is only regret for a particular moment, and houses, roads, avenues are as fleeting, alas, as the years." It's so beautiful. Well, that is it for my reading journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you don't forget to subscribe to my channel so we can be bookish and voracious readers together. I will see you in the next book. Bye.